Today I'd like to present you the newest and largest project of the director Baz Luhrmann, and this is the new movie remake of the world-famous novel by Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby on 3D. The plot of this movie tells the story of Nick Carraway and his adventures in the company of the legendary millionaire Jay Gatsby, who's played by Leonardo DiCaprio. So the story is very interesting as despite all his wealth that Gatsby possesses, he's a lonely man, and his only wish is to get to the love of his life, Daisy Buchanan, who's played by Carey Mulligan, and who's actually married for another man. The movie itself, I think, represents a classical story in an amazing way, while at the same time it catches all these very delicate moments and really puts them into a grand spectacle that we can see on the big screen. The depth of the story itself, as well as the great actors and their roles, I think add a lot to the actual feeling of the movie, and they make this really high quality production. One of the other qualities of the movie is the excellent characters development, so that this movie has great characters, and essentially they're filled with so much depth. The only minus of the movie, perhaps, is just the beginning, which actually happens to be missing this plot niche, and you can't really understand what's really going to be out there. So for those people who actually aren't acquainted with the novel, the Fitzgerald's novel, or the excellent movie of Robert Redford from 1974, actually that movie won an Oscar, they may feel a little bit disappointed or bored at the beginning of it. I have to say that basically the beginning of the movie, the first 20 minutes or so, are mainly to introduce the characters, their part in the future story, and I wouldn't say that this is a big problem, given that the future events of this movie wouldn't have been that interesting without this initial introduction. Despite that, though, I think that the time for this introduction could have been kind of shortened a little bit, just so that the producers could avoid this, these some sort of boring moments that were filled with parties and a lot of things there that aren't really so much substantial for the actual story itself. I would say that after the first 20 minutes of the movie, the actions start to develop a little more dynamically, and I'd say that the interest to the actual events becomes a lot bigger and a lot more significant than with the first 20 minutes to half an hour. In the rest of the movie, I think it manages to get all these really delicate moments, as I mentioned, of the story, and it represents it in a powerful, very emotional way. When I was watching the movie, I was really into it, and I felt like I care about these characters. I think the role of Leonardo DiCaprio is simply amazing. He's playing so well this rich guy who's actually kind of good and very emotional at the same time. I think that Tobey Maguire is also fantastic in his role of Nick Carraway, and one of the things that is so impressive about the movie is that he is actually telling the story of how he met Jay Gatsby and essentially how he really get into the story, the middle of the story, because he's the one who actually is telling the story. So it's incredible to see his way of performing on that level, and most of all how good he is in really taking all these important moments and presenting them as actually a third person who is observing the events and yet really feeling the emotions of each of these characters. On the other hand, the 3D effects, I think, are really good, and they help a lot to experience the movie in a different way. You see, this is one of the first romantic drama movies that I see in 3D, and I think this was simply incredible. It's just the visuals of this movie, together with the 3D, the excellent plot, and the performances, I think this really creates a huge spectacle.